All right, tonight we are going to do Disney World rides. Mostly rides that I've ridden, but I think I got most of the newer rides that I might not have. There's probably, 67 or so. I think there's maybe about 50 now. So I've been to Disney World many times in my life. I don't know the count. When I was a young kid back in the 80s and then the 90s, it was a common family vacation for us to go to Disney World. We went, it was always a drive. We were from Indiana, so it was a long drive down to Orlando. And then we'd go to Daytona, usually as well to hit the beach, but we'd spend a few days at Disney World. Uh, Magic Kingdom and Epcot were really the two big ones originally, and then MGM Studios came along, which I think is like Hollywood Studios now, but that was newer at one point. And then I really didn't go for a while. I don't think after that, but I did go back as an adult, and they had the early parts of Animal Kingdom. I want to say the last time I went was like 2014. So I know a ton has changed since then. There's a lot of rides that I haven't ridden that I've heard awesome things about from friends and family that have gone. So I will go through my list. Some of these I remember more than others, but I'll say this: like Disney World, as anybody been, is an experience. It's not just the rides; it's like being in the world. Walking and running, whatever, to the different places, but also just how awesome it looks and kind of the lands that you're in. And I always felt that as a kid for sure too. Now, my interest growing up was more, I was more of like the space kid or future stuff kid. So I liked the concept of things like Epcot or Tomorrowland and Magic Kingdom more so than some of the more Disney things. I wasn't like super into Disney movies, though I would say, back then, not a ton of the rides were like Disney movie based. I remember more being in like, I get these names wrong, like Fantasyland, I think, where you had Peter Pan, Snow White, Dumbo, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. But some of the others, I do, like they were more just generic rides where it was, Tomorrowland Speedway or Astro Orbiter or People Mover, which I think just goes to the fact like Walt Disney, obviously envisioned more for Disney World than just like it being a Mickey Mouse place. Though that's obviously iconic too, the castle and everything, Cinderella. But same time, Epcot was not really that. It wasn't associated really with Disney characters. You had the World Expo, you had Spaceship Earth, which is the ball, and a bunch of different like what the future is going to look like things, and you could almost see that it was trying to, I guess, get kids to have that vision of the future. Imagination Land's part of it with Figment. So a lot of cool stuff, I think. I mean, that's much better to me than it just being everything's Mickey Mouse or different movies, which is still awesome. You need to have that stuff too. But yeah, a lot of cool things. And then Hollywood Studios came along, which was totally different. They had the big Chinese theater. Star Tours for Star Wars was one of the first things I remember there. The Indiana Jones spectacular live show was there. There was like an MGM lot tour, I think. I don't even know if I have it on here. I couldn't remember exactly what that was, but potentially that was just a little ride or tour that I didn't have on here. And then Animal Kingdom, when I was a kid, it wasn't even a thought. And then I think maybe the last time I went as a kid, which I wouldn't have even like the probably late '90s, mid to late '90s, it was maybe being developed or starting to be developed. And then as I came back, as I was older, it was just opened. Like they only had um, the Safari, which is probably a very bare bones version of what it is today. And then it wasn't called what it is now, but it's like Dinosaur or whatever the ride was before that. I think it was like Extinction or something, if I remember going into it. But we went and it was just like, everything was still in development, is kind of what it felt like. So yeah, Disney World was always an awesome experience. Like I said, we drive down as a family, which today would seem pretty easy. You're in a car with your phone or your iPad and you're just checked out doing stuff. Well, back then it was like five of us, four of us, whatever, in a car for 12 hours with nothing to do but, you know, handle each other's company. So it was fun though. Those trips were always super memorable. And then we get down there, and sometimes we'd stay like just off Disney World. It was cheaper to stay in like a Hampton Inn or whatever right there. But we did stay in Disney World a few times for sure. Uh, we stayed at the Yacht Club a couple times, which was like in between Epcot and MGM, which was really cool because we could walk in the back gate of Epcot. It's literally right there. And then, or you could get on just a boat, one of those boats that goes, it's like by the Dolphin and Swan hotels, and then you go through to Hollywood Studios, or what it is now. And then Magic Kingdom was like a bus ride. So you'd take the bus. Funny story, one time we went, so my dad was always the super responsible, like organized, this is how we're going to tackle this. And this is before you had phones and we're able to like map out everything going on. But we had the old school maps in like the 80s, 90s. I'm sure you could look them up online and they'd be the same. They're like color coded of the different worlds. But anyway, we get to the yacht club. We're super excited to like check in and just go straight to the park. And we do. And we get in the park and we're on one of those double decker buses going around the world where, you've got the different countries. And all of a sudden he's like, it's like something just hits him. And we like look at him and he jumps up and he says, "I'll meet you at Norway." I remember it was Norway. We're like, "What?" And he gets up and he jumps off the bus. I think it was still moving, or he had told the driver like stop and jumped off. Well, what had happened was he had left the car running, I think with the doors and trunk open and everything right in front of the yacht club because we're in such a rush to go do it. So of all the people to do that, he'd probably be the last person, but he did it. And we met him at Norway, rode Maelstrom, which I think is like a frozen ride now. So a lot of fun Disney stories. As I rank this, I had it as favorites, rides that I think are great, rides that I think are fun, which is like, it's not great, but I enjoyed it. Okay is like, I'd get on it. It's fun. And kind of lame were ones I was just like, what are we doing? This spend our time better than this. And then haven't ridden, which we'll definitely have some of those. Now, when I was a kid, I don't remember Disney being like overwhelmingly busy. Now, it was super busy. Don't get me wrong. There were a ton of people there, but you wouldn't wait in lines so much. Like as a kid, I don't sit there in my mind and say, "Oh man, why are we waiting in line all day?" There were certain rides you might, Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, the big ones, occasionally. For some reason, the Tomorrowland Speedway, I always remember having to wait, and I know it's because they had the little race and people would go around. You had to wait for the next car, which is like kind of go-kart type thing. But yeah, for the most part, I don't remember it being that much of a hassle. Now that said, when I went as an adult and went like with my brother's family, my niece and nephew, it was like, all right, we are at the gate at exact time, and we are sprinting in when we go. We're running to the back because this is the most busy one, and we got to get it out of the way. So it's like, all right, well that's changed. Now, a cool thing I did, and this was the last time I went to Disney, which is like 2013 or 2014, was I went as a part of my work down to just see how Disney works, like how they run the operation there, which was really cool. And that was when they were starting, and I know it's evolved since then, but like having a bracelet, which was like you'd scan in and you could like scan your food and all this, and they were testing it. So we were one of the first people that got to try those, which worked pretty well when we went. But yeah, we got to do that. And then that evolved into like Fast Pass and some of the other things that happened. So that was the last time I went. I rode things more as like an adult by myself, where I didn't have kids, around to like wrangle, and you're just like, I need to run to that ride and do that. Now, the interesting thing about that is I got to see some rides or ride a ride, especially that I never rode before, which was really important for me to ride because it's one of the most important ones, which is Space Mountain. As a kid, I was a fraidy cat. I never liked to ride roller coasters or things like that. Didn't like scary rides a whole bunch. I'd get on some of them, but not. It wasn't my thing when I was like super young. And then I swear to you, the last 2 or 3 times that I went to Disney World as I got older, Space Mountain was shut down for like renovation or broken or something. So I never got to ride it. And then the last time that I went, I did. So that'll be on here as one that I've ridden. But in terms of how I'll rank, there's nothing specific about it. Like I'm not just going to say, oh, the ride itself, because there's more to it, I think, with Disney, where it's like kind of the atmosphere, the feeling of entering in, the feeling of the ride is obviously part of the experience. But then, like, is it memorable? Did you enjoy? Would you ride it again? That type of stuff. So uh, I'll try not to have the bias. I'm sure sometimes where I was like super tired and it was the last thing we rode, and I was like, oh, this is dumb. But sometimes that may leak in as well. So we've got a lot here. I think I've got most of the names. If not, I'll pull up a list and remind myself, because some of them, especially ones that I can't see the name, might not recognize the building. But I will check. And I have no idea how I'm going to rank these, so I will be calibrating as I go. As always, I might put it in a tier and then move it once I see the other ones and where they're falling, or if I remember something else, I will change it. So we'll start with an old one. I did include defunct ones from the 90s that I remember, 80s or 90s, that, when you're young, you still remember, and I'm sure they've evolved into a new version. Some of them I may have the newer version too if I wrote it. The other times I may have missed it. So if I did, I apologize. But the first one is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This was one I always remember walking by. It was the boat that you or the submarine that you walk by and see as a kid, and you're like, oh wow, what's this? That's cool. Now I wasn't a huge underwater sea person. Like, didn't I was a nerd about other things, like I said, space and things, but it wasn't like a ride I had to go on. I was like, okay, it's there. Now I'd been on it. You're just kind of in a confined space. There's like a moment where like a giant squid is by the window or something. So kind of cool, but it just takes you down underwater and then brings you back up. It's not, wasn't anything too spectacular. I'll say it was okay. It wasn't one of my favorites. And I should say at the end, I will rank them in order. And even those that I haven't ridden, I will rank in order of what I would prefer to ride. I think, like, without knowing too much about it. So this is, I'm gonna miss this one already, but it's like an alien. I think aliens from Toy Story. The swirling saucers appears to be what it says. So I haven't ridden it. I'll just call that out. Looks like more of a smaller kid ride, like a spinny kind of ride. All right, we have the Astro Orbiter. Now this one changed quite a bit since the 80s. It looks much more modern now, which obviously it should. But back in the day, I remember just being like rockets, looking like, with the USA on the side, rockets. Maybe that's not exactly true, but it looked and felt like that, where it would just lift them up and then you would go around and you kind of, make go up or down. You wouldn't really go super fast or anything. I don't know that I've ridden a modern version of it. It might be the exact same. The old one, it was cool because it felt so high, right? When you're small, everything feels so big. And I do remember it feeling like I was pretty high and like you're above a lot of Disney World. You can see a lot of Disney World. So I'd say I had fun just because of that. Like experienced it to see Tomorrowland especially, and then probably even farther. Space Mountain, getting to see that is super cool. All right, this is Avatar, Flight of Passage. So I guess there's like a Pandora world in Animal Kingdom, maybe. Seems to be where it would make sense. I have not seen Pandora's world. That was after I'd last gone. Flight of Passage. I've heard great things about this ride. That it's super fun, super engaging. I think you're probably riding one of those things from Avatar. I do not remember the movie Avatar, or the like terms and stuff. Other than Pandora. So yeah, it does seem like it was a pretty cool. I don't know if it's like Soarin' a little bit with more stuff to it, like a more modern version of it, but that's what I might associate it to. Soarin's in Epcot. Okay, this is the Barnstormer. I want to say this was like a goofy ride. Feel like it was next to Dumbo, and this is something that wasn't around until I was older. So the time I went for work, I think we were like just looking for something to do for 10 minutes, and somebody else was doing something else, and we just hopped on this little roller coaster, and it was actually kind of fun. I mean, it was like a nice little quick ride, and for kids, I'm sure it's just a nice little roller coaster that the younger, shorter ones can probably go on. All right, and then we have Big Thunder Mountain. Big Thunder Mountain is what is it? Frontierland. It's in the you go on Main Street. It's in the far back left, is what I remember. Intimidating to me as a kid because again, I wasn't a roller coaster person. I didn't like it. Most of those rides they felt overwhelming to me. But I did ride Thunder Mountain. That was when I got like forced on. I was like, I don't know. And it's like this with most roller coasters for me. I'm very apprehensive, and then I like it once I'm on it, and I enjoy doing it. But Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, I'll say, is great. I really liked Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's not, relative to other roller coasters and stuff. It's not like this huge roller coaster, but there's some fun little double dips and things in it that I remember. One of the coolest things I did on this one, and maybe this is one of those moments where I'm influenced by like when I wrote it. But the last time that I went, we got on this very late, and it was like a part of the year where the sun had already gone down for a good bit. But I want to say we were in line for a while, and I think when you're in line, they like let you get on. But the fireworks had started, so we were riding this when the fireworks were going, which was really cool. You could just like see them exploding as you were freaking out going around the thing. So pretty cool. All right, Body Wars. This one is no longer there because it wasn't there the last time I went, unless they brought it back. But this was one I remember in Epcot, I believe. And what I would equate it to was like Star Tours, where you're in one of those pods and moves you up and down simulator kind of deals. But this you're shrunk down and put in a body and have to save somebody from during a surgery or whatever it was. But it's there to teach you about blood cells and all this other stuff. And I don't know if it was my favorite, but I'll say it was fun. I remember the lead up to it. You don't just like go into the thing. It's like Star Tours where you are watching a video and they're explaining to you what's going to happen, and you feel like you're engrossed in the story of it before you get on, which Disney does a good job with most things. So, all right, Buzz Lightyear Laser Blast. This I think was new when I last went because I went on it. I remember you have like a shooter and you're just shooting things around, and I had fun with this one for sure. I liked it. Kind of wanted to ride again, see if I could better my score because I didn't feel like I had the hang of it at first, and then I got the hang of it. But yeah, it was fun. All right, we've got an old one. So this is Captain EO. Captain EO was in Epcot, I believe. Michael Jackson was the main attraction in it. So this was like a 3D movie theater, what they probably call like 40 or whatever now experience, where the atmosphere of the room, whether it's the smells or feeling the air change or anything around you, was like that. And this was really cool. It was really kind of overwhelming when you're a kid because it's like crazy what they were able to do around. I'm sure today it's not much, but back then it was like whoa, the 3D and everything was crazy. So I had a lot of fun with Captain EO when that was up. And I'll try to balance these out so some that are fun might move to okay and kind of lame like as I go. But I'll try to not just put everything as fun. All right, the Carousel of Progress. This is not the most fun ride in the world. It's in Tomorrowland. It is a spinning room. You're like in a seated, audience, just the theater, for example, and you're spinning, and they're spinning you to different rooms of what the future is going to look like. Now, I haven't been on this one. I didn't go to it the last time I was there. I haven't been in a long time. I would hope that it's been updated because a lot of the stuff that when I was young and went to this has already happened and is more advanced. So got to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, what's that look like now? So it'd be kind of interesting there. Um, but the Carousel of Progress, I'd say I enjoyed sitting in. Sometimes with Disney, like I don't need to be on an exciting ride every 5 seconds, right? It's like exciting ride. Now let's calm down. I'm tired. Let's just sit and enjoy a show or something, and that's kind of like what that is. So that was fun. Country Bear Jamboree. What's that called? Is it Liberty Square? It's like the Hall of Presidents and all that stuff. I think that's up there. Country Bear Jamboree, musical jamboree, has been around since the first day I went there. I remember I was upset the last time I went because it was closed. Sure, animatronics were broken or they were redoing it, but went to this every time as a kid. Uh, Vividly remember it. You're just kind of like, especially when you're really young, you're like enamored with these talking bears, and they're up on the wall. And there's a moose, and there's just the banter and everything's so well done. They make you feel like you're a part of the show, and it's like they feel real. It's like a perfect Chuck E. Cheese. That how they do the animatronics and things. So I'm gonna have Country Bear as great. All right, dinosaur. So this is the one I was talking about in Animal Kingdom, where I think it was like extinction event or survive the extinction or something different. The ride might be different now too, but I remember this because there was a different. We'll get to it. There was a different dinosaur ride when I went as a kid. It was in Epcot. It was like the Energy Hall of Energy or something close to that. Uh, Still pretty cool, like with all the dinosaurs and stuff. This was far more intense. This was like, whoa, they're up in my face. I think there was one point you feel like you're like going right in the mouth of a dinosaur, and then it drops you down a little bit. Not like a roller coaster, but enough where and they're jumping out the side and everything, which was really cool. I enjoyed Dinosaur. I thought that was a really great ride. I'd like to ride it again. I was kind of not knowing what to expect when I first rode it. And again, Animal Kingdom hardly had anything in it, so we kind of just rushed there, did it, and did the safari and left to get somewhere else. So, uh, pretty cool. Delta Dream Flight. This one has been gone for a long time, but I vividly remember it being in Tomorrowland growing up. So I would say it was at least there till the late 80s. And it might honestly have been called something before this, before Delta put their name on it. But this was just one of those like teaching you about flying and kind of going through the history of flying and all that. I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. I mean, it was just kind of cool to see that stuff. And it's probably going to be a little bit like the Carousel Progress when we hash all this out. All right, Dumbo. I never rode Dumbo as a kid. Never did. It's you're on the little things and he flies you around. Again, I wasn't a huge Disney movie kid where I'm like, oh my gosh, Dumbo, I get to fly Dumbo. If I was, I probably would have ridden it. So I made a point though, the last time I went to ride Dumbo. I'm like, I've never ridden Dumbo. I'm getting on Dumbo. I don't care if I'm too old to get on Dumbo. It doesn't matter. And I will say it was a mistake. Now, not a mistake because the ride's just lame, which it is, but because it was super misleading, at least at the time. I don't know what it looks like today, but here's why. So again, we were just like, we're adults. We're like, let's just go ride something for a few minutes. Other people are doing wait in line for something we'd already ridden or something. So we're like Barnstormer and then Dumbo. So Dumbo, we get in line and it's like, okay, we got to get there. We got to get there. And there's like a tent and you see the tent. And you're like, all right, just got to get to the tent. Well, you get in the tent and then it's like you're waiting at a restaurant. They like give you a number, or they did, to just play around. There's like a playpen and stuff for kids. Otherwise, you're just sitting there and then you wait until your number's called. And then you get to get into another line that takes you to where Dumbo's flying. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a waste of time. That wasn't the case, I don't think, with the original Dumbo. Could be wrong because I didn't write it. But the newer experience, I was not a huge fan of. So kind of lame for me. Enchanted Tiki Room. This was, what is it, Adventureland? It always felt like this was on the way to Pirates of the Caribbean. I could be getting these places totally messed up now. But Enchanted Tiki Room was always one I remember where I'd be like, oh, especially when I was young, let's go to the Tiki Room. And it's like my dad or somebody would just be like, no, let's not go. And I know a couple times we like stopped in or something and it was lame. Like I never really liked it. And so they kind of knew better and tried to guide me against it. But eventually I did. And I was like, yeah, it's just this. Okay. And I'm sure for some people it's like, oh, this is great. Any of these rides can be great. But I was, comparatively speaking, don't waste my time in the Tiki Room. All right. Expedition Everest. Heard great things. Haven't ridden. Newer. Roller coaster. From what I understand, Getty chasing you. So cool. Uh, Hall of Presidents, probably next. Looks like Hall of Presidents. Uh, this was okay. So grew up in a different time. You grew up in the 80s, 90s. There's, I would say, as a kid, you were just more likely to be like patriotic, where you studied U.S. history more, whether the history was well taught or not. But I was one of those where I at least was thoughtful about like, oh, I know what a president is, and I know who the president, some of the presidents are, and learned about them in history. So I thought it was kind of cool to go see this, and then to see the animatronics, to see them all talk and just to say hi. It's like, oh, that one and that one and that one, and they keep going down the list. Now that doesn't mean all these people are awesome or should be revered necessarily, but the way they executed this is pretty cool. And I always liked it. So I'll say I had fun when I'd go to the Hall of Presidents. Now, again, this is like one of those rides. It's like, okay, if I'm worn out, it's hot as heck outside. Like, let's just go sit in the Hall of Presidents for a while. And if we get bored, we'll just leave. That was a good place to do that. All right, the Haunted Mansion. As a kid, I was a scaredy cat, like I said. So the Haunted Mansion for me was scary. Which is a good thing because that's what it was kind of supposed to be, right? And I appreciated that about Disney World and like how they handled this, because you want it to be scary. You don't want it to be like so hokey that it's like not threatening at all. Um, but it was like a good scary where you're like apprehensive to go, but everywhere around it, like when you're back in that part of the park, again, I don't know if this is Liberty Square or it's kind of back there, Thunder Mountain, everything's on Frontierland's close, but I think it's like Liberty Square. Uh, you could hear it, right? And you just see it, and it's like a little daunting. And then your parents are like, all right, time for Haunted Mansion. You're like, oh gosh, here we go. Now, after you ride it, one or two times, or you get a little older, it's not the exact same. But you're going through the line. They do such a great job always of like keeping you engaged in the line, for those types of rides. With the gravestones, or just little noises and things, and then you go in and you're in the little center room, and it could have changed now, I don't know, but I did go more recently. I was like, oh, now it's just super cool to see how they do all this stuff. And then the pictures rise and you see them in their grave or whatever, and just all the classic things from the Haunted Mansion. The dining room, or people dancing, the ballroom. The one I always remember is where you go past the mirrors and you see the ghost like sitting next to you or whatever in the cart with you. So Haunted Mansion is great. It's one of my favorites. It's just always fun for me. I think it's a very unique ride. Like, yeah, I haven't really seen anything like that. All right, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was a 3D show. I don't know where exactly it was, if it was in MGM at the time, um, or if they put it where like Captain EO was, but I want to say it was like in Hollywood Studios. I know they had a Honey I Shrunk the Kids like section where you were small, relatively small. They had the giant ant and other things where you could hang around, but I don't know if this was the same spot. But I do remember the show, 3D show. The thing I remember most about this was sitting in the seat, and the scene. There's a scene where rats are like running on their mice or something, or running on the ground, and they have a little thing underneath the chair that makes it totally feel like you had a bunch of mice running by your legs. And I mean, I was like, oh gosh, my mom was like, kill me. I think when that came out, because she hates mice. So yeah, it was really well done. Um, I don't know that it's like my favorite, so I'm gonna start being a little more discerning. Once I rank, I might move some around, but yeah, I'll say it was okay. I wouldn't have gone back to see it again, but I liked the movie, so I knew it pretty well. Okay, I can't read this one very well, but I think it's Horizons or Horizon. Okay, so Horizon was part of the old Epcot, where you had the land, the sea, Horizon. Horizon was like what's possible in the future, if what is what I kind of remember by it. The most memorable thing, and part of the reason I like to ride it, was you get to the end, and I could be mistaken here, but I think you get to the end and you're in your little cart, and it gives you on your screen a choice to pick like one of three endings or three choices, and you pick it, and that's the path you take, or that's the show that they give you. And for some reason, as a kid, I just like the choose your own adventure books, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a ride, but I can control it. It's this thing, I can tell it what to do, um, which back then was much more uh, cool. But I will say Horizon was okay. I don't remember a lot about the rest of the ride or specific things that they showed, and I'm sure that's why eventually they replaced it. Okay, another small one here. Oh, that's Indiana Jones. So this was a show, more or less, but it was in MGM Hollywood Studios. Live action. You get to see a lot of the scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the plane's spinning and they're fighting, and then the ball rolling down, the famous ball, stone ball, boulder. Indiana Jones was always fun. It wasn't like my favorite thing to go see. I wasn't big in just sitting and watching a show necessarily, of live action people, animatronic stuff maybe more so. But yeah, Indiana Jones was still really well done, really cool. Like I remember the heat of it, feeling flames and fire. So they do an awesome job with the special effects. I don't know if that's still around. Maybe I doubt it, but might be. Um, it's a Small World. So it's a Small World. It's a very famous Disney ride. I rode it the last time I went because it's like one of those things you got to ride. I did get stuck on It's a Small World one time, where you get stuck for 20 minutes. Song gets a little old, and you're just like, get me off this darn boat, and you have no idea when it's going to start again, and you're just like, please do it. But if I can get rid of that time, um, it's a really cool ride. I mean, it is. It's not, the most exciting or whatever, but it's just a cool concept, and it's a great, individual theme and all that gets stuck in your head, whether you like it or not. So I will have Small World as it's okay. It might move above some of these just from a nostalgic standpoint or whatever, but definitely, classic for sure. All right, Journey into Imagination. I think this one's changed more recently, but it used to be, and I think it's still Figment. Hopefully, Figment is a non Disney movie character from what I know, but he was one of my favorite characters at Disney World. And I had a little Disney or a little Figment plush, stuffed animal, stuffed dragon. But I remember Journey into Imagination, driving through, just these different rooms and Figments. Kind of sometimes he's cartoony, sometimes he's animatronic. And I always really liked going to see Figment, so I'm gonna have Figment as great. Uh, Kali River Rapids, I think that's probably in Animal Kingdom. I don't know it, haven't ridden it, or River Rapids. Assuming it's the standard River Rapids type uh, ride where you're just on one of the circular things and it takes you down. Still fun, but haven't ridden it. Kilimanjaro Safaris is a tricky one because I think it's the same thing that was there when Animal Kingdom opened, but again, it's probably way better now. They didn't have a ton of animals when we went, and maybe it was also a time of day thing too. It's like the Jurassic Park joke. You have no dinos, right? That was what it felt like. It's like you have no giraffes. Where's the giraffe? but we did get to see elephants, I think, in this, and I'll just say it was okay. This is probably really cool now, but yeah, for the time, it was okay. Living with the Land, Epcot. This is just one of those like educational kind of rides again, where you're learning about the land and taking care of the earth. Those kind of concepts. I don't know if this is still there. I didn't ride it the last time that I went. I'm sure it's been reworked from when I was young, but this was one that I was kind of like, it's okay. I'd get on and enjoy it, but I wouldn't like think I'm gonna ride that again. So, the Living Seas. Um, I think I've ridden both versions of this. So there's the original Living Seas, which is around growing up, and then I think there was a newer version of it, and I want to say it was when I had gone back the last time where Nemo was in it. Now I don't know how much of the ride actually changed. It was more just that he was part of the narrative and stuff, but because before that it wasn't that. It was just like an aquarium kind of concept of riding through. But I enjoyed it. I thought that it was probably more fun than some of these. So I'll say it was okay. I don't know that it was like fun, but it was fine. I am going to, now that I look at it, I'm going to move to 20,000 Leagues down to the kind of lane because I just never really liked it compared to some of the others. All right, the Mad Tea Party is just the teacups in. There was always like a part of Disney I rarely went to, which is like the Mickey Mouse world. I think it's like above Tomorrowland, next to Fantasyland. I feel like that was close to there, and I only rode it like once or twice, and every time I had ridden it, I was kind of like, I don't really like it that much. So I have it as kind of lame. Now, that said, it could be because I'd ridden some rides like that were better in Holiday World or other places closer to here, and I was just like, this one isn't as good as those. Maelstrom. This one's changed. I have not ridden the changed version. I don't think I have it in here, which is Frozen. Um, I always get them mixed up. Is it Elsa, the one with the ice? So I think, and maybe Anna's in it too. There's two of them. But Maelstrom was in Norway, and it was like a Viking type ride. And the thing I remember most about Maelstrom was a drop. There was like a solid drop in it that I wasn't really expecting. But it was a fun atmosphere. I liked that Norse stuff. It was a nice change, and it's cool when you're a kid and you're like in a part of the park where there's not like a ton of rides around, and you're just like, oh, what's this thing off to the side? And then you go in and it's pretty fun. So I liked Maelstrom. The Magic Carpets of Aladdin, I haven't ridden. It looked like Dumbo. I don't think it was around a long time, but maybe the last time I went, I did see it, and it was just like, I don't need to spend my time there. Probably fine for kids. Um, Mark Twain Riverboat. So this is just going around I don't remember, is it the Tom Sawyer place that this goes around? Would make sense. Swiss Family Robinson place. I kind of found it lame. I mean, like, it just, you get on the riverboat and you're going around. It wasn't anything I ever really wanted to do. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, I have not been on. I think that's the Chinese theater now in Hollywood. Probably would like it. I always liked going to the Chinese theater, but haven't seen that one. Okay, this is, let's see, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. I have not been on that one. I have not been since they got like Star Wars World or Land or whatever within Hollywood Studios. Looks cool. You got the real Millennium Falcon size kind of look in there. So probably fun to visit, and the ride sounds kind of cool. So probably fun. Mission Space. So Mission Space, I'm going to actually talk about the next one first, and then I'll go to Mission Space. So Mission to Mars, the one after this, is the one that I grew up with. And Mission to Mars was in Tomorrowland. I don't think it was in Epcot. So they aren't the same ride. But the concept of Mission to Mars was you were blasting off to Mars. I would say it was more like a, it's not a good description, but it's like a planetarium. I felt that way where I was like leaned back and I was facing up like I was in, harnessed into a spaceship, but it was a lot of people. It was like you're in a bigger room and you see on the ceiling, you're headed toward Mars and it's getting closer and everything. So at the time, cool. I mean, it's like, as somebody who liked space things and everything, I thought it was pretty fun. But in hindsight, it really didn't have a lot to it, and I probably just like the concept more than the ride itself. So I'm gonna have that in the okay section. Mission Space. So I went on Mission Space a couple times. I think when it first opened, and then I think later on. Um, and I want to say they changed this ride a little bit. Where when I first went, I think there was only one way you could do it, which was to get in the centrifuge, and they spin you around. And then they made another path which didn't. The other path where it was just static and you were going on the journey is probably a lot more like Mission to Mars. Mission Space, the one I went on, was where you're spinning in the centrifuge and to make you feel G's gravity get pressed up. Two things I remember about that ride is one, well, I take that back. Three things. Taking off, where you feel that pressure behind you and you're accelerating. The slingshot around the moon was like the most intense part for me of like feeling it. And then there's an end scene, or there used to be, where you landed on Mars, but like on ice or something, or a cliff, and then the cliff gives way and you kind of start to go, but you don't. And so I thought it was a really cool ride. I really liked Mission Space. That was great for me. I thought they did a good job with it. It's probably not that long or anything, but I thought just the feel, the gravity and stuff was pretty cool. The monorail. It's not a ride, but it is iconic. Today, probably a little bit more dated and not very cool. As a kid, I wanted to ride the monorail, and I wanted to ride the monorail from Epcot to Magic Kingdom, because you go through the hotel. It's still there. I have no idea, but there was like a hotel where you could actually ride the monorail through, and it would take you to Magic Kingdom. Just thought it was super cool. It's just an elevated train, right? Now that you're old, but as a kid, I always thought the monorail was fun, so I like going on it. All right, this is the Monsters Inc. So the Laugh Factory, or whatever they call the Monsters Inc. thing, Laugh Floor. If I could read, I could have seen that there. So this had, I don't know if it had just opened or seemed pretty new last time I went. And so we went. It's like a stand-up comedy act, and you're part of the audience. And I remember they come with the camera and it's up in your face. They might ask you a question or something. I don't know if the routine and everything is the same or if it changes every time. But it was fun enough. I'd probably have it as fun. We'll see. But yeah, they're pretty funny. Okay, this is, I hope, Mr. Toad. Yeah, so Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I don't think it's around at Disney World anymore. I think they might still have it at Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland out in California, which is just Magic Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken, some version of it. But Mr. Toad's Wild Ride used to scare me to ride as a little kid, and I miss it now. I wish it was still there the last time that I went. But the reason that it scared me was because they do a good job of making some of those rides, like Peter Pan and Snow White and Mr. Toad, kind of giving you that anxiety as a kid, like you're in a stressful situation. But at the end of Mr. Toad, you turn, and it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, because I think in the movie he's like in a car bouncing around and stuff. They did that a lot in Disney movies. Like 101 Dalmatians, I remember driving like that. But they turn you into a dark burning them, and then all of a sudden you hear a train, and you're like, what? And then you see the light come on, and it's just, probably a flashlight or something at the end of the road. But then you make a hard turn at the very end to miss it. But it felt as a kid like you're getting ready to get hit by a train, which I thought was awesome, in hindsight. So Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. The rest of the ride was just okay. I mean, I don't remember too much about the rest of it, but I do remember the end of it. So I'll have it there. Muppet Vision 3D. I don't know if that's probably not still around. I feel like it was only around one time when I went. Hollywood Studios. I remember, what's their name? The two guys up in the balcony a lot, because I always found them to be really funny. But it was like you were a little bit on the Muppet Show, but it was 3D. So again, much like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or Captain EO, you were in that world. And maybe this is what replaced Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, probably. So I will say I have that in the okay. Again, it was fun. I mean, I wouldn't have done it multiple times, but I enjoyed it. I didn't see a good picture for this one, so I just threw it in there. But it's called the Navi River Journey. I guess that's Avatar. I haven't been on it. Seems like maybe a slow river something boat ride. The People Mover. So the People Mover is in Tomorrowland. It is probably considered a pretty lame ride, in the kind of lame category. You just get in a little, and I remember like it's moving walkways, and then you just get on as like the walkways moving and the people movers coming around, and it was blue at the time, and it had little speakers behind your head. You got to go through Space Mountain. You got to go, it would narrate to you these things around, and it would just talk to you about, what they represent and that kind of thing. I really liked People Mover as a kid. I don't know why. I don't know if it was, one of the things where I was just like resting, but for one reason or another, the coolness of like going through some of the places and everything. But getting to see like Space Mountain from that perspective was really cool, I always thought. And just some of the rest of Tomorrowland. So cool concept. I liked it a lot. Peter Pan's Flight. So this, I think, was in Fantasyland next to like Snow White, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Seem to remember the very beginning of like the flying and curtains and things like that. Captain Hook obviously is in it, but I don't remember a ton about it, and I never really wanted to go on it a lot. Now again, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I love Peter Pan, and I love Disney Peter Pan, but I knew him, I knew Hook, I knew all that, but Crocodile, but wasn't one of my favorites. Pirates of the Caribbean. Another one a little bit like the haunted house, where you remember feeling being there, like going into the lobby of Pirates of the Caribbean where it felt musty, and you just start to feel like you're in that world. You didn't even know what the heck really Pirates and what the Caribbean felt like, but they did a good job of making it feel that way. I like this ride a lot, where I would go and buy the little gun. They probably don't sell them anymore, but they used to give you, you have the little gun with the little lock at the back. And then there was an interesting story about this one, and it's one of my favorites. So when I went back for work, and they were telling us about like how Disney World is built and like how these rides are made, they said one of the most difficult decisions, because their philosophy was, if we don't think Walt Disney would have done it, we're not going to do it. Now that may have changed by now, but back in like 2013, they really hesitated to change a lot of rides unless there was like sign off that needed to get futurized or modernized or whatever. And the biggest controversy was Jack Sparrow, because Jack Sparrow was so popular, Johnny Depp's character, that they're like, man, we need to capitalize on this and put it in the ride. Like, people know, Jack Sparrow. And so they went back and forth and had, it took a long time to make the decision. And they finally put him at the end of the ride. I think he's there. The last time I went, he was there. Times before that, he was not. So big change for them for that. Maybe it's changed more now, but remember the guys chasing, the lady around, the dogs chasing them, people beating them with, like rolling pins or whatever. just a super fun ride. And the best part of it to me was always toward the beginning, where I think you see like a pirate ship off in the distance, and then you go down, like you hit a plunge. The plunge is probably this far, but it feels long for it being dark and everything. So Pirates is super fun, and then super catchy song sticks in my head. All right, the Royal Carousel is something I've ridden once. Is I think in Fantasyland out in front of those other ones that I referenced. Prince Charming's Carousel. Never a huge carousel fan or detractor. It's just like if there is one, I'll get on it. It's kind of lame. It's a standard one. I didn't see anything special, but it does what it does. The train. This is just the train that goes around Magic Kingdom because you might want to go around the loop and just see things again. If it was always awesome when we would go for a longer period of time, because sometimes we would go for 4 days and spend a couple days in Magic Kingdom or whatever. Again, when there were only like Magic Kingdom and Epcot, so you wouldn't feel rushed and you're just like, let's take the train from one to the other and wait on it. So kind of fun, but just okay. I mean, it wasn't anything I was like, I need to get on the train. Can't see this one. I think, Remy's Ratatouille something. I think it's in Hollywood Studios, and I've not ridden it. I think it's just like a cart. We don't want the standard cart with a bunch of stuff going on around you rides. Okay, Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster. Went on this. No, the last time that I went, it was closed for something. The time before that I went, and I was moderately like looking forward to it, moderately anxious. Like, I don't know if I really want to ride this. We'll see. And so you go through the line and everything. You got Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, and all that. And you get in the cart, and I think the whole point's like you're in a limo, and it's like they go as fast as it's like hit the gas, and you go from 0 to 60 and feels like 3 seconds, some super fast. But I was super pumped because one, I like Aerosmith. The ride's fun, it's chaotic, but I got and I didn't know this till afterwards, but I got the cart with, I think it was definitely Love in an Elevator, and I think they said Love on a Roller Coaster. Maybe mistaken there. And then Walk This Way. So 2 songs I really like, and I didn't know that different carts had different songs. And if I had known that, I'd probably written it again. But yeah, had 2 songs that I really liked. It was like super fun to hear Love in an Elevator, your adrenaline pumping on a roller coaster. So super fun. Really like that one. Would ride that one a lot. So I'll have that one of my favorites. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. This was being built the last time I was there, so I didn't get a chance to ride it. It's probably a few months for being opened, it looked like. So heard it's pretty good, though. Okay, these are the Skyway, I think is what it was called. Not around anymore. It hasn't been around a long time. As a kid, I would look up, be like, how do those people not die? Because you're just in a bucket and you're going between essentially the left side of Magic Kingdom to the right side, or vice versa. So it just goes through Fantasyland over top of it. But rode on it a couple times as a kid, and it's not much other than just transportation. But you're above the park, looking down, seeing a bunch of stuff. It did go pretty slow. I'll just say it was okay. Slinky Dog Rush or Dash, Dash. Haven't ridden. Don't know. It looks like maybe there's a Toy Story Land because there's that alien one, and I don't know what else is there, but that might be there. Snow White's Scary Adventures. I don't know if this is what it was called as a kid. If it was, I probably would have freaked out more about it, being a scaredy cat. But I want to say maybe it was just Snow White's Adventure or something like that. But anyway, this was like you ride Mr. Toad, you ride Snow White, you ride Peter Pan. You go to Small World, something like that. And this one did freak me out. The Wicked Witch or whatever was creepy. She's creepy in the real movie, but she was. It was a very dark kind of feel. But then you had the hi ho, and that was fun. So I will have that as okay. I don't know if it was one of my favorites, but I liked going on Snow White every now and then. First, I was terrified. Uh, Soarin' around the world. So this was in Epcot. I want to say it's in the same building as Figment, whatever that building is called. But Soarin', I rode a couple times, and you're up and you feel like you're flying, and they pump in the smell of flowers or whatever as you're flying. I thought Soarin' was super fun. I'll have that in the great category. Um, just a real fun, cool ride. Like I can ride it multiple times and just enjoy flying around. All right, Space Mountain. Again, I told the story. I had not even had a chance to ride this until I got older. And then 2013 or 14 or whatever, finally was open, finally rode it. Now, is Space Mountain like the best roller coaster in the world from a roller coaster standpoint? No. Is it the most intense? No. It's only got really a couple drops that I recall, but it's the atmosphere, the feeling of being in that world. Now, one time that I went where it was broken, I did get to see it with the lights on inside, which maybe they do that all the time, but I did get to see it because I was on the People Mover. And the People Mover went through and they were saying, like, you can see the track and you can see, how it wraps around and everything. So it was cool to see that. And once you see it, you're like, oh, well, that's not that bad of a roller coaster for sure compared to some of the other ones. But Space Mountain's an awesome ride. It really is. It's just super unique. It looks so cool from the outside. Like whoever designed that, it's very iconic to me. So I always love to see that in Tomorrowland. Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth is iconic as well. The ball, um, now people are so used to it that they probably don't think anything of it. But I'm sure when they developed this, it was kind of a really cool, unique thing. Inside, it is more of a story of humanity's history and going toward the future. And you just kind of, as you go up the ball, you see it, and then you come back down backwards. From what I recall, I really always liked going to Spaceship Earth. I liked the feel of it. It's one of my favorites. Um, I know it's a nerdy thing to say, but I always liked the storytelling of it and just seeing the animatronics and just move through history. I say this as somebody who likes history. Like I study history and know a good deal of it. But it was just as a kid, I was interested in those things. So some kids might write it and be like, "This is the lamest thing in the world," which I'd get. Um, all right, this is Splash Mountain. It's changed since I last went to Tiana's Bayou Adventure or something like that. I didn't include that one. I don't know if it's the same ride or different. This was more of the Song of the South characters and stuff, which I got rid of. But Splash Mountain, I had not ridden until like the last couple times that I went, and I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't even there when we used to go. It was Thunder Mountain, and then this was being built. And then eventually got there, but there was a time where it was broken, I think, and there was a time where they were putting the animatronics in. I don't remember, but anyway, the more time I remember is more recently, and it was going through the Song of the South and Brer Rabbit and all that, and you go up and then you get to the top and then it just drops you. It's a quick drop. You're kind of done quick. It's great. It's not probably not my favorite. Like I didn't after the first time, I wouldn't have wanted to go through all of the story stuff again. It's like, look, it's a log flume. Just put me to the top and drop me again. So, I wouldn't necessarily rewrite it all the time. Okay, this is a uh, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. So I guess you're in one of these little doohickeys here, and you see the fight between the stormtroopers and the resistance and stuff. I haven't ridden it, so wasn't around when I was there. Okay, this is Star Tours, and this was one of the first things I remember at MGM. And this is where you are riding in just like a tour shuttle, and then the little guy up front messes up, and then you all of a sudden are dropping down and going in, and then you're on the Death Star run. This is one of my favorite rides. I think I rode this. So one time, Florida's famous for having storms, pop up and go away. One time we had a storm that was staying for a decent amount of time, and I mean, just like 45 minutes or something like that. I think we rode this ride 5 times in a row, 4 or 5 times, because we just kept looping around because it was storming and nobody else could come in. It's like, hey, what are we going to do? And we had a blast every time. So super fun. All right, Swiss Family Robinson is just the treehouse section. I always found that kind of lame. I just never, when we did do it, I'm like, what are we doing? This is kind of boring. Can we go do something else? So I never really paid too much attention to it. Test Track. Test Track was the second last time I went. The last time I didn't get a chance to ride it again, I don't think. Might have been renovated again. But you're picking your car, putting little things in the thing. So that's what I want my car to look like. You're designing a car and stuff. And then you get on the test track and you're in the car, and it's pretty intense. Like, it felt like you're going really fast. Now, relatively compared to, real cars, probably not, but on the track it felt like you're going really fast. Test Track, I would say, was great. I really had fun on Test Track. And it's always good when you're like, my nephew was younger when he rode it, and he was scared to death like when it was going fast. And he's not really he rides all the roller coasters and stuff now. So for some reason, whatever was going on with that one was pretty intense, feeling like you were in a car. The Great Movie Ride. This is the giant Chinese theater. It was before the Mickey and Minnie thing. One of the first, again, MGM rides that I recall. And it was just driving through and seeing scenes. There's like one that I remember more than anything was like a mobster scene, and they had like guns shooting. You can't do those things anymore. But back then, it was like, oh, cool, movie scenes, awesome. And it was fun enough. So I'll have it in the fun section. Little Mermaid. I had not ridden Little Mermaid. It's probably newer until the last time that I went. Feel like one of the people I was there with work was like, girl was like, oh, I love Little Mermaid. Let's go on Little Mermaid. I was like, all right, whatever. So we go on Little Mermaid. It's fine, under the sea. You're hearing Under the Sea, and then the ride gets stuck for 30 minutes. And I was sitting there next to freaking Ursula or whatever, while everybody's singing, and you're just like, please can I just walk off the ride at this point? But it was okay. If I got rid of that, the ride was fine. I mean, it's Little Mermaid. Boy, I cannot tell what that is at all. Is that the, Tom Sawyer Island. So Tom Sawyer Island falls into the Swiss Family Robinson thing for me. I never cared for that part of the park. Didn't really want to do it the times that we did. I was just like, all right, let's get out of here. Tomorrowland Speedway. So this is the ride that I felt like I had to wait a long time for. And then you get in, and when I was really young, my dad would drive, and I would, just try to push the pedals that I could barely reach. And you try to drive, and it's on like a little metal track. So you keep hitting the track because you can't steer. And it's putt, 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 putt. Compared to like driving a go-kart or something, no, it's not as fun. But when you're that young, it's really just, trying to race and act cool. And then you get older and you're like racing your dad or racing your brothers or whatever. So it's pretty fun. So I'll have that as fun. I always enjoyed like just going to the Speedway. Tower of Terror. Whoever designed this is nuts. It's scary. Like I didn't like it, but it's a great ride. Now I love it's Twilight Zone. I think I don't know if it's still Twilight Zone. I love Twilight Zone, but the mechanics of the ride, that the dropping, and then the feeling of like getting lifted off the chair for some reason with this, and just the way that the whole thing goes is I'll say it's great. Like, it's a great ride. I don't love to ride it for sure, but it's a great ride. Tron, I haven't ridden. It's newer. I hear it's awesome. I'd probably love it. Okay, this is the Universe of Energy. So this is what I was talking about a long time ago that had dinosaurs. I enjoyed going to this one. It's in Epcot. You go in, there's like a huge wall of video. And I mean, huge wall, like multiple screens, theater screens. And it was like teaching you all about energy and how, windmills and solar and coal and all this other stuff, nuclear. And then you would get on a ride, and the ride would take you through the history of energy and stuff. But the beginning was dinosaurs, and they looked awesome, and they were kind of scary, and it was about oil and stuff. I guess ultimately, if it's energy related, but yeah. So the universe of energy, I enjoyed. I'll say I'll have that in my fun category. And then Wildlife Express, don't know what it is. I would assume it's an animal kingdom. I do notice that it is named after Harambe, the gorilla that was sadly killed in Cincinnati unjustly, and that's a nice homage. So kudos to them for that. And that puts us to the end. And now we will rank. So I'll usually start at the bottom here and go up. We'll try not to take too long to do this. But sometimes I have to sit here and think for a minute about what I would move forward, and some may move tiers as well. All right, so first of all, in the haven't ridden, I would have Tron first. I would have probably the Millennium Falcon second, Pandora third, Seven Dwarfs fourth. Well, nope, Expedition Everest above that, and then Seven Dwarfs. So the Alien one I'd probably have toward the bottom. The Star Wars one I'd probably have up here. River Journey seems a little boring. I'll put that down there. The Slinky Dog's probably a little bit better. I'll have below this Star Wars one. I don't really know the dynamics of that one, but it's probably fun Star Wars stuff. River Rapids, fine. Maybe I don't really know what's in the Runaway Railway. If it's the same as Chinese Theater, but like Mickey and Minnie, I'll probably put Ratatouille right above it. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm good for the haven't ridden. That's about where we'd be at. All right. Kind of lame. The treehouse is lame. The riverboat, at least you're moving. At least you're moving over Tom Sawyer. Carousel, okay. I'd probably ride the carousel over yeah. Tiki Room will move down. Dumbo, I will move down. I'd rather ride Dumbo than probably those two. Again, I just had to wait so long. It's like if I just got to get on the ride and was on with like a kid or something, I might enjoy it more. Then 20,000 Leagues, I'll have that. That's fine. Okay, Little Mermaid. Okay, so I got some weird ones in here. All right, are there any that, okay, Living with the Land, I'd have the Mission to Mars is probably up there. Living with the Land's probably up there. Horizon would be toward the top. Small World would be up there. Living Seas I would have up there. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, come into our Muppets. So I'd have Muppets. I like the Muppet one more a little bit than the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Okay, the Safari, Peter Pan, the Train, the Buckets, Snow White. Snow White I would move up above Peter Pan. Little Mermaid. I mean, it's more exciting than the Train. Little Mermaid, and then yeah. Okay, so there, Dream Flight, Living Seas, Small World. Probably have Small World over Living with the Land. I'd have below Living Seas. And Dream Flight. That's a good call. And Dream Flight. Horizon, Small World. Okay, I'd have Small World below Horizon. I think that's fine. All right. Fun. Universe of Energy. Speedway. Okay, would I have any of these as like the most fun? Okay, Carousel Progress is probably farther. Well, we'll see. It might not be. What was? Oh, that's okay. I'm trying to think if there were any that I like really didn't like enough to put into okay, but it's kind of balanced. It's not too bad. I mean, I think I would move Carousel of Progress to okay. And I'd probably have it below Mission to Mars. Okay. I feel better about that. All right. People Mover, I really like. I'm going to put that up front. People are like, dude, there's not even a ride there. You're just going around with it. I know. I like it. Mr. Toad, I like a bit more. Maelstrom, I like a bit more. So I'll move those up. Universe of Energy, I liked a bit more. Okay, I'll probably have the Monsters Inc. thing toward the bottom, though it's good. I just I've only done it once and I don't remember that much about it. Body Wars, I can move down a bit. It's a little repetitive of the Star Tours. Speedway, great movie ride. Monorail, Maelstrom. Maelstrom I liked more than some of these. Hall of Presidents. Buzz Lightyear. Mr. Toad. Okay. It's Universe of Energy again, right? I like that one more. Okay, Barnstormer I moved down. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's below like probably Body Wars and probably below. I'll put Barnstormer down and okay. Mission to Mars, Carousel Progress, Horizon, Small World, Living Sea. Yeah, I just missed it this one. Dream Flight, Living with the Land. Okay, I'm fine with having it there. It's at least a little roller coaster. All right, fun. Body Wars, movie ride. Indiana Jones, I can move down a little bit because again, it's just a show, and I wouldn't have sat through it more than some of these. I'm going to put it below the left floor. Buzz Lightyear was pretty fun, but I only did it once. I don't remember. Okay, the rockets. It's like a cool vision, or cool sight, but I don't know that it's like my super favorite, so I'll probably put that below Captain EO. Monorail I'll put above that because I actually liked going on the monorail more. Some of this in my head is like, okay, I'm at the park and somebody says you can only ride one or the other. Which do you go do with the time you have left? Which is a pretty good, I think, way to do it now. Okay, I'm okay there. All right. Tower Terror, Test Track. Okay, any of these like higher for me? Yeah, Thunder Mountain's up there. Figment's up there. Mission Space is up there. Soarin'. Yeah. Splash Mountain's okay. I mean, I've just been on so many log flume type rides. It's not my favorite. Tower Terror. Tower Terror is the one that breaks the whole like, which one would you do? It's like, I think I'm good. Especially now that I'm old, because some of these rides actually hurt. Like my neck and my back don't feel great after roller coasters and things now for sure. Test Track. I enjoyed Test Track probably more than Dinosaur, Soarin', Country Bear, Jammer. Country Bear I can move down a little bit. I enjoy going, but it was more as a kid. I'm going to move Country Bear down to Fun and move it right below People Mover. That should even it out a bit on the lame and not. Soarin', Mission Space, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Yeah, I like Figment a lot, but I'm going to move Space right above it. And would I rather go on Mission Space or Thunder Mountain Railroad? I'd rather go on Thunder Mountain. That's fine. All right. Star Tours, Space Mountain. Oof. Some good rides here. I'm going to take Spaceship Earth down to great, and I'm going to move it below. I'm going to move it right below Mission Space. Oops, got it right here. Okay, so now we got a top 5. Star Tour, Space Mountain, Aerosmith, Pirates, Haunted Mansion. Okay, I'm gonna start here and see how I feel. I'm gonna give a little more credit to Space Mountain and Star Tours, I think. But man, I love Star Tours. But again, I've written it so many times. But I like, man, I'll tell you, from a ride perspective, Aerosmith, I enjoyed that ride. And again, because the music changes and stuff, I'd like to go on it again. Space Mountain. Okay, I think this is it. So top 5: Aerosmith, Rock and Roller Coaster, Space Mountain, Star Tours, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Great Ones, Thunder Mountain, Mission Space, Spaceship Earth, Journey into Imagination, Soarin', Test Track, Dinosaur Tower Terror, and Splash Mountain. Sorry, People Mover, can't move you into great, but you are one of my favorites as well. So I think that's it. Those are the Disney rides. If I missed any, apologize. I'm sure there's some that are today that are smaller shows or something that I missed, but that's pretty close to, I think, how I'd feel. I'd like to go back. Haven't been in a long time, just to see if I still feel the same, but that's where we're at.